Now these are the two leads that I'm going to make two leads out of. And they have the old style metal pins in. So I'm going to pull these metal pins out, and they don't have the little metal holes in them. So I'll just pull the metal pins out, and then what I'll do is split it. Split this board, maybe right about here. Split this part in half, because it's got two sections. So I'll split this part in half, and then I'll pull that over there and rejoint the board and make it like a whole new table leaf with a fresh edge on it. These metal pins sometimes can be difficult to remove. I have found a way to get them out a lot easier. Take a hammer, just regular straight claw hammer, pound it into it, and pull it out like a tooth. And you got to pound it out of your claw. That's it. Just force it out. Now this old leaf was originally made up with two pieces of wood glued together to make one leaf. You got one side here that's about 5 inches, and you got one side here that's about 6 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this board that's 6 inches, so I'll have about make two 3-inch pieces. So when I glue this edge to this edge, I'll have a 3-piece leaf, and it'll have fresh wood on either side for me to drill new pins in. So I'm going to lay this out. Check it out. Yeah, this is 6 3/8 here, and it's 6 right down here. So it's not exactly in the center. It's kind of tapered a little bit. So I'll go to the 3-inch side, and I'll make my mark. Where I'm going to cut is about 3-inch. So I'll set my table saw up to cut 3 inches off, and then I'll come back. So now I've cut the 3 inches off of the leaf. Now I'll rejoint the old edges and then re-glue it back together. Well, I got my leaf all jointed and everything, thinking it was going to be okay, and we got a new problem. If you look down this board, you can see that is extremely warped. It has a real bad warp in it. So we're going to have to do something different. We're going to have to attempt to take this warp out of this leaf. And how can we do that? Well, the only theoretical way to do that is to turn the warps in opposite direction. Okay, so when you glue those back together, they will counteract each other. But I can't do it with one big board and one small board. I'm going to have to cut this again so that I can do some shifting around and see if I can straighten it out. So what I did was I cut another 3 inches off of that other board, and then I'm turning those over and putting the crown down on the outside and the crown up on the inside. So the piece in the middle is made up of 2 pieces, so we're having a 4-piece leaf. Now I've just got to clamp it together. I'm not going to attempt to clamp all of the pieces together at once. I'm only going to do one glue joint at a time, because I'm not going to be able to plane this board after I put it together. So I have to align it. And so I'm going to start at one side and align it and clamp it together and straighten it out. I'm not putting any dowels in it. It's just a butt joint. I guess you could put dowels in it if you want, but I found that it's really not necessary. This glue, Tight Bond 2, works really well. So now we'll start with the outside edge here and we'll get it lined up. We don't have anything to work with. We're re-gluing an old leaf and we want it back pretty much like it was. So start there and you can see it's got a high spot here. So I'm going to raise this outside up here. Raise the outside up here and get it in alignment. So I'm going to clamp this right here. Right. Now we'll tighten that up a little more. We'll just work this across, keeping it straight all the way across. Now we'll come over to this clamp. We've got to push it back down a little bit for this one. It's nice and flush with the edge. Amp it up. Tighten that a little bit. Go across here. Now we're going to push this one down. Get it so it's flush across there. Amp it up. And then finally, this end down here. Now I've clamped it straight. And I found that when I do this on this bench and clamp it straight like that, it stays relatively straight when it glues up. Wipe off the excess. And that's it. Now we have to let that set up. And while that's setting up, I can work on the next one. Now this leaf is relatively straight. So all I'm just going to have to do is make one cut. And this has got, again, two pieces. This one's about 3 inches and this is about 7 and a half, close to 8 inches. So I'm just going to cut a slice at about 3 7/8. So that I'll have 2 borders on the center and fresh edges. I'm now ready to glue up this last joint. As you'll notice, on the jointed board I have the holes that were left from the old pins in the holes. Now when you glue these this joint together, those holes are going to be on the inside. So if you have to cut your leaf off, you should mark where those holes are on the ends so you won't have a hole in the middle of the end of your board. So I'll put a mark right here where they are. On either end, here, 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 and here. Now I'll know where the holes are. Now we're ready to go. There we go. And I'll do it the same way. There we go. Okay. There we go. That's it. Well, the pins